YouTube, how's it going? Washed, inconsistent content creator coming at you with a slightly different style of video. I want to take a break from the usual brand of content and give a quick update about my personal life, as well as give my opinion on all of the drama surrounding Xdefiant at the moment. After watching this video, let me know how you all like this style of video and if you'd like to see more of it in the future. And don't worry, the weapon breakdown and tier list series won't be going anywhere. I'm just delaying it for a bit because of the news that the Phantoms may be receiving a substantial nerf, which should particularly impact SMGs, which is the weapon class we're currently on, so I want to see how that shapes out first before making a bunch of breakdowns of content which could become obsolete and outdated rather quickly. So as far as my personal life is concerned, I was really hesitant as to whether to include this in the video or not, but I was recently laid off from my full-time job. And so we've been putting YouTube on the back burner for the past few weeks as I was just scouring the market for a new full-time decent paying job because even though I love making YouTube videos, I gotta make sure the bills are paid. This was, as I'm sure you all can imagine, a really devastating blow to me, and without going into too many details, I essentially worked as a health coach in the behavioral health field, helping patients diagnosed with anxiety and or depression. So not only was this a well-paying job, but it was also very rewarding and fulfilling getting to see the progression that patients made as they went along in the program over time. And it seems like to me and other teammates who were also laid off, that this was a top-down restructuring based solely on streamlining the whole department and cutting costs, because we had monthly team meetings and every time we had one, our performance as a team was not only meeting, but also exceeding the benchmarks and expected results and satisfaction numbers. So these layoffs were probably just an effort to cut costs and save money rather than, oh, we're not doing a good job and performance based. But such is life, it waits for no one, sadly. So I essentially treated the last 3 weeks of applying to jobs and job searching like a full-time job. But I have secured another position, thankfully, and will be starting that job the first week of October. So now that we have some stability and income again, I can get back to focusing on making YouTube videos. Now, as far as the Xdefiant drama is concerned, the past month and a half to 2 months have been a wild ride, man. For those that aren't in the loop, Tom Henderson, who, from what I understand, is a pretty well-respected insider for gaming news, released an article based upon conversations with inside sources stating that Xdefiant is dying and essentially has until the end of Season 3 to turn things around or all post-launch support will be cut off. This has come as a surprise to some of us who really enjoy the game, as not too long before that, Mark Rubin, the lead developer, and Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, I'm sorry, basically had nothing but positive things to say about the future outlook and plans for Xdefiant, and even devoted more manpower and resources to the development team. In addition to that, Xdefiant recently revealed their roadmap moving forward, which included content not only up to Season 3, but even beyond that, which would indicate that there are plans beyond Season 3. But no official word, to my knowledge at least, let me know if that's incorrect, has been said from Ubisoft or Mark Rubin regarding the Tom Henderson article in particular, which has us all in a state of confusion and trepidation as far as the future of the game. And this has trickled down into the community, and honestly, the entire online community surrounding Xdefiant has just become really weird. Essentially, the only content that really gets any kind of traction and viewership is either rage baiting and wishing death upon the game, or the opposite, just mindless meat riding and coping while completely disregarding valid criticisms and concerns about the game. And this has led to a lot of intellectual dishonesty surrounding the game, as people tried to claim that Xdefiant would be the COD killer when it first dropped, which was never going to be the case, and anyone who did make that claim was either delusional or just being very intellectually dishonest. And now we have gone from a place where everyone held Tom Henderson in pretty high regard and well respected, to now there are people like Jay Bowen and Blame Truth claiming that this was either a hit piece sanctioned by Activision, or the sources Tom Henderson acquired their information from weren't reliable. And I suppose that those are possibilities, and it's within the realm of possibility. But if we are going to acknowledge that that is a possibility, we also have to acknowledge that all of the positive news we've been seeing about Xdefiant lately is just a front to put on to calm people's nerves and questions about the game, but in reality it could be dying. I hope that's not the case. I don't want the game to die. And if I am wrong, then I will wear that egg on my face, be a man and admit I'm wrong and apologize for it. I just want people to be honest and real about the game, and for more forms of content actually highlighting and engaging the positive aspects about the game to take over as opposed to all the coping and rage baiting. I'm going to keep it real and give my honest opinions about the game, like I have always done since making my first video on this channel, and I'll break down what are, in my opinion, the 3 biggest issues holding Xdefiant back, but before that, I'm going to make my overall stance on the game be known. I love Xdefiant. It isn't without its faults, and I'm going to break down, again, some of the faults going forward, but this is the first FPS shooter that has kept me hooked and engaged in a very long time. I love the aesthetic, the maps play great in my opinion, are gorgeous to look at, and the core gameplay loop is fun and rewarding. So, while everyone copes and rage baits reviews, I'm going to keep making content about the actual game because in my opinion, the game has an excellent foundation and so much potential. But now to transition, let's talk about the 3 biggest issues holding Xdefiant back in my opinion. And just as an aside, I'm not going to talk about obvious gameplay specific things like netcode because that's already been beat to death, and there's really nothing intellectually new I could offer to that conversation or add to that conversation. Rather, I'm going to be talking about underlying systems that I believe are problematic for the game, that even if the gameplay issues got fixed, these are going to hold it back in the long run. The first issue with Xdefiant, in my opinion, is a lack of endgame progression. And this is a problem that another game I really enjoyed suffered from, and that being Helldivers 2. Both that game and this game have, in my opinion, a very fun and addictive gameplay loop. The problem is that the gameplay loop is all that Xdefiant really has to offer players to stick around in the long run, and no matter how much somebody may enjoy that gameplay loop, if there's nothing to work towards, players will eventually burn out and leave. Currently, there are only a handful of things to work towards from the casual perspective, which are unlocking all base content being weapons and factions and operators, completing the battle pass, and mastery weapon camos. Unlocking all base content is very simple and quick for anyone competent at FPS games. The majority of weapon challenges are very simple and easy to complete. Unlocking factions will take a slightly longer time as you need to activate the challenge and then accumulate 700,000 score, but again, it's a challenge that doesn't fundamentally change the way you interact with the game and will be completed relatively quickly. Unlocking all the operators for those factions is a mixed bag, as the challenges are usually just do X amount of something with each ability, and some abilities are just worse to use than others, which artificially inflates that time needed to complete that challenge. And then you have the mastery camo grind. Boy oh boy. The big problem with this grind is that it's just a tedious time sink. Call of Duty mastery camo grinds were so much engaging back in the day, as you had to fundamentally change the way you engage with weapons in different ways to unlock the camos, doing things such as get X amount of headshots, get X amount of kills with these attachments equipped, get X amount of kills with no attachments equipped. You get the idea. Xdefiant's mastery camos are all unlocked by XP, and with currently 400 levels to get through, and never fundamentally changing the way you engage with the content, mastery camos feel more like a slog and a badge of how much you play the game, rather than really accomplishing something and mastering the weapons. This game desperately needs some endgame progression to unlock things like titles, calling cards, emotes, etc., via challenges and or a prestige system. The beauty of these systems in old Call of Duty games is that they gave you so much to do in order to unlock things by engaging with the game in different ways, but it was all completely optional to you as the player if you wanted to undertake these challenges. In Xdefiant, your account level has no purpose, you get nothing for leveling up, there are no challenges to unlock things beyond base content, weapon mastery feels more like a tedious time sink rather than a true sign of mastering weapons, and the bottom line is you need more than just fun gameplay to keep people around for a long haul, and Xdefiant currently doesn't offer any of that. Alright, so we're going to move right along to the second biggest issue with Xdefiant, in my opinion, is that ranked is jank. So this is an extension of the no endgame progression loop that we addressed a moment ago, but obviously this is catered towards more hardcore gamers and competitive gamers. I believe that having a good ranked mode is important, as if you have a good endgame progression loop for casual gamers and pub playlists, and also having one for hardcore and competitive gamers gives all subsects of your community different achievements and grinds to strive for. A well-developed ranked mode can also be a source of community hype, as high skill and high stakes gameplay can generate viewership on platforms such as Twitch and YouTube, which, if leveraged properly, can lead to tournaments and events, which can further grow the hype and size of your community. Heck, I'm not even sure if y'all remember, but in the preseason there were even some Xdefiant tournaments being held. They're smaller, but the potential is there. So as somebody who has a little bit of a competitive bone, I was super excited when I heard Ranked was coming in Season 1, and well, to say that I flopped is an understatement. Here's a small and not comprehensive list of all the problems that Ranked came with when it first dropped in Season 1. Now, some of these issues have been addressed or are currently being worked on as I upload this video, but the fact that Ranked launched in this state when you have Mark Rubin, but more specifically Aches on the development team overseeing Ranked, is so disappointing. For those who don't know, Aches is a former CDL or COD professional competitive gamer, so to have all that first-hand experience and knowledge and allowing Ranked to drop in that state that it did is just outright disgraceful. I could rant about all of these issues in more detail, but I want to specifically focus on the lack of placement matches and how the matchmaking process works in Xdefiant Ranked mode. Essentially, you start off at Bronze rank, regardless of your skill level, but all games, even in Bronze, operate with skill-based matchmaking. This means that if you are a Gold, Ruby, Emerald, or above level player skill-wise, you will compete against players of that skill level, even in Bronze. Why? Just why? I don't know of any other game that functions this way. And the thing about this is that it completely devalues the skill rating stat tracked in the game. I personally have a 3000 skill rating, and I'd like to think that that's pretty good, but I have no way of knowing that because I'm playing against other 3000 SR players in Bronze. I could be a top 5% player, or I could be complete dog shit at the game, and I have no way of knowing because there's no reference for a rank 3000 SR players should be in. No other ranked game I know of operates the same way. You typically play through 5 to 10 placement matches, and based on your performance, it places you roughly where you should be, so that way you play against other players of your skill level. You gain or lose SR based on your performance, wins and losses, things of that nature, and you achieve a new rank when you acquire a certain amount of SR. For instance, if I demonstrate that I'm a gold level player in placements, I can skip those lower ranks. Not only does that let me know exactly where my skill level truly lies at, and validates my SR rating, but it also protects lower skill players as they'll be ranked accordingly. But I shouldn't be sweating in Bronze like I'm playing in Gold, Ruby, whatever arbitrary rank you want to throw out there. Just an example. The only argument against this philosophy is, what about preventing smurfing? Smurfing is a problem that has plagued every game's ranked mode throughout history. You can never prevent it 100%. But what you can do is put systems in place to limit it. Require a certain account level before you can even touch ranked playlist, which is already in the game. You can even take it a step further and introduce a seasonal level, so maybe require someone to have an account level of a certain amount and then a season level of a certain amount in order to play ranked. And then obviously follow up with players reporting smurfing and dealing out the appropriate level of punishment. The bottom line is that ranked is currently a joke and needs some serious loving and tweaking going forward. The third and final major issue underlying Xdefiant that I want to address is the lack of a core identity. If I asked you to explain Xdefiant to someone who knows nothing of the game without referencing Call of Duty or highlighting the lack of skill-based matchmaking as the major selling point, could you do it effectively? Probably not. And that is a huge problem. Xdefiant needs to carve out its own space in the arcade FPS realm and be a unique entity in order not to just survive, but to create its own brand and attract new players to come and consume that brand. Xdefiant, while fun and a breath of fresh air to me at least, doesn't bring any real innovations or new ideas to the FPS space. The only thing really unique about the game is that it pulls from a bunch of fan-favorite Ubisoft IPs. And this is where my biggest issue lies. Ubisoft and the development team are squandering such a great opportunity as far as creativity goes. They have access to so many cool and unique IPs that there is no reason at all why you shouldn't be able to come up with some sort of overarching theme or identity to this game. Do something like Apex Legends, where a new season comes out and you have an opening cinematic introducing a little bit of theme and story to the season. You could then leverage that story into the game for people to engage with, such as changing the aesthetics of the maps and having unique challenges mid-season that give players the option to engage with the game in different ways and to unlock unique seasonal cosmetics that will be unattainable post-Season 1 beyond. And if that is too ambitious currently to achieve due to needing more manpower diverted to other issues, at least do some mid-season challenges based around the season of the year or things like that. For instance, Season 1 dropped during the summer. You cannot tell me, at the very least, that players wouldn't have enjoyed seeing some challenges to engage with to earn summer-themed cosmetics. You can't change the aesthetics of some maps that have like palm trees, beach balls, Miami sunset skies, things like that. And you can't tell me that people wouldn't love running around as a cleaner, dressed in a chef apron saying, "Kiss the chef," while you're sitting there frying people with firebombs and flamethrowers. Just even simple stuff like that can go a long way towards boosting player engagement and retention. And there is so much more potential like that that is currently untapped, and there is no excuse for it considering the cool and unique assets and IPs that the team has access to. Well, that's all I really had to say about Xdefiant currently. Let me know if you all enjoyed this style of video from me, and if you agree or disagree down in the comment section below. As always, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. See you around.